Gary,
Elle.
I just got back from New Orleans. And in the words of my not so good friend, but in my head, Lizzo, I had to shampoo press just to get it out of my hair. Welcome to the Elle Duncan Show with my personal favorite juvenile, Gary Shreisky.
That is me. What up,
Dude,
Elle?
New Orleans is just one of those places. I love New Orleans. I've been there one gazillion times. I prefer my New Orleans with a side of not a major event going on because it's kind of a show. But it's one of those places that like it's a little bit like a Vegas. You spend a few days recovering. And not because I did anything or partied. I was super old and washed. I was in bed every night by 11. Like that wasn't it. It's just the overall, you know, cacophony of smells,
Yes.
beignets, fried shrimp, puke, horse.
There's just there's an expectation when you go to New Orleans that everything immediately is already on a 10. I
Mhm.
mean, your most regular day starts at a 9 and then elevates to a 10 when you step out of the hotel. That's just what New Orleans is. I can take New Orleans, Elle. Give me 2 nights, 3 days, and I'm good.
And I'm good on it.
Yeah.
It was listen, we're gonna get into the whole New Orleans of it all. The Super Bowl, I was there. It was wild. I have something to say about this whole Taylor Swift getting booed thing. I'm a little bit annoyed at whatever narrative is happening right now surrounding it.
Okay.
I'll give you my firsthand account of it all. But of course, we are just days away from Valentine's Day.
Of
Uh,
course.
I have yet to purchase it. That's the best part about being married, by the way, for almost 10 years. Like both of us are just like, we both reached the stage of Valentine's as a manufactured holiday. We don't need it to prove our love. And so neither one of us do for Valentine's Day, which is great. But in the sports world, there
Uh-huh.
are some folks that maybe need to call back to our old friend from about 15 months ago on the podcast, The Love Line,
We
where
are
they
the love
call in for
doctors and we're
advice.
ready to
Yeah,
go.
they're going to call and ask for some advice, and we're going to answer their concerns. Are we ready?
Hey Elle, what's up, Gary? I need some advice. My team hasn't beaten a top 25 opponent since before Christmas, and we have a big game this weekend. I have a lot on my mind with the W draft quickly approaching, but how can I help me and my team finish the season strong? Tell me honestly, do I need to brace for disappointment?
Me putting together my context clues. Y'all haven't beat a top 25, bracing for impact. Are you strong enough? I don't know. I'm reading between the tea leaves. Strength, maybe literally and figuratively in terms of health. And y'all got a big game this Sunday. You got about a week out against a team, by the way, who just went on the road and lost. So they are going to be red hot mad in South Carolina and the fighting Don Staley's. Somebody on UConn is down bad, and I'm assuming it's Paige Bueckers because she also alluded to the WNBA. And Paige, I think you have to believe, Paige. You have to believe the clues that you are being given. All right. You have to believe the signs that not just the universe, but your partners and everything else in your orbit is giving you. So I think there is, Paige Bueckers, true reason for concern. I think your relationship is certainly at a crossroads with UConn, with potentially this season, and this is really going to be a relationship tester going up against a team who is red hot mad in South Carolina.
Well, you're correct. I do believe that that was supposed to be Paige Bueckers.
Okay.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, we have our first college game day of the season. Myself, Andrea Carter, Chiney Gumake. We're going to Columbia on Saturday. We'll be there Sunday, 2 hours, one on ABC, one on ESPN, starting at 11. And then the game will be on ABC at 1. Huge matchup. It's really big. Does it feel a little less big just because South Carolina just lost to Texas? In, by the way, the highest rated game, college women's basketball game of this season, peaked at 1.3 million on Super Bowl Sunday, because there is a huge faction of the population that, believe it or not, don't want to watch 6 hours of a pregame for the Super Bowl and instead want to watch another sport, right? Like they're in sports mode.
Mhm.
And so these games actually do really well. We saw South Carolina play UConn last year, I believe, on Super Bowl Sunday. It was very highly rated as well. The thing for South Carolina for me, and in particular this game, is that like I think that they've had some measuring stick games. Like Texas is known for their defense, and like Vic Schaefer defenses will give you absolute fits. It's the same reason that Tennessee just upset UConn, right? Like that defense, that pressing defense, they are nasty with it. They're committed to it. And like it can really, cause some troubles and some foibles. UConn missed a lot of shots in that game as well. I was just there like today in stores because we're doing a feature on Sarah Strong,
Oh, the
who is
fabulous
going,
freshman.
yeah, the fabulous freshman who's in pole position to win freshman of the year. In fact, it would take a lot for her not to win freshman of the year. And we're doing a feature on her for game day. And I actually sat down with Sarah, I sat down with Paige, and I sat down with Gino to sort of, talk about Sarah and this team. And Gino, I asked him something that he had said after her very first game. This is after, one game in November. And he said, UConn's ceiling, if they're going to reach their potential and they're going to reach their ceiling, which of course at UConn is supposed to be a championship, then Sarah Strong's going to have to play like an All-American. So I
Ooh.
reminded him of that quote today and I said, how do you feel about that statement now? And he was like, listen, I stand by the fact that like, she is playing like an All-American and she
Mhm.
is. She's been ridiculous. He was like, but the issue for us is in those 3 games where we were really tested, South USC, Notre Dame, and Tennessee, we haven't had each one of them playing their best at the same time. And
Mhm.
he was like, we were always, a big three that really needed to have all of us parts playing at their ceiling in order for us to reach it. And he was like, we just haven't, like, not in any of those games have they all 3 of them played their absolute best. And he's like, I haven't seen it yet. So if we see that, he's like, I think this could be a very scary team. It's just a matter of getting all 3 of them clicking on the same cylinders at the same time. Um, and I think, it also goes down to like the same thing that Paige has said, for her whole career, which is that she's like the best kind of superstar and that she's very deferential. She's a great passer. She's obviously their point guard. Like she does it all, but there's times where you want to see Paige assert herself even more and say, I'm putting this team on my back and I'm just going to just do it. Right. She always makes the right decision. And sometimes Gino even said this. He said this about Sarah. He's like, sometimes I want them to play more selfishly. Like sometimes I want them to go, it's time for the takeover instead of trying to make my teammates better or take the pass because it's there. Or, like I need you to assert yourself. And I think if both of them can do that, then yeah, this is going to be a really formidable UConn team. Obviously, if they can stay healthy, but ultimately, they are, I would say, if you ask most analysts, they're probably not in your top 3 or 4 in terms of teams right now that they think are
Mhm.
playing like a championship caliber team. Those teams are still UCLA, um, obviously South Carolina, Notre
I,
Dame,
I wonder
and
what
yeah.
Gino was trying to do there, because obviously Paige Bueckers is the star of the team, but if he's basically saying we're only as good as Sarah Strong is going to take us, I wonder if he's, I don't know, what's he trying to do? Light the fire
I
under her?
mean,
Is
but
she
the
the kind
thing,
of player who needs that?
well, no, I mean, it's the truth though, Gary. Like, I think that's why it's going to be really cool to do this feature and really spend some time talking about Sarah because Gino said the same thing we've all been saying. She was the number one prospect in the country, which means she came in with expectation. She chose UConn and she's still somehow superseding them. Like,
Mhm.
it's really hard to be the number one recruit in the country and then exceed expectations from there. Like, Gino said, the thing about her is she always knows what to do. He was like, there are players where if you take away what they want to do, they don't know what to do. If you throw them off, if you interrupt their dribble, if you in any way if they land on the wrong spot and they get the ball and that's not where they anticipate it, they don't know what to do. He's like, Sarah always knows what to do every time. She never panics. She knows what to do. He was like, and to have that in a freshman, someone that is 25 games into their career, is so rare. And he said it. He's like, think of all of the great legacy players that have come through here. And he didn't go as far as saying, like, I've never seen anyone do it, but he was
Mhm.
like, I'm telling you, like, this is Paige Bueckers told me when I asked her, what would you want America to know about Sarah Strong? And she said that when it's all said and done, Sarah Strong's probably going to be on the Mount Rushmore of UConn players.
Damn.
Right. And I said that to Sarah and she was like, wow. Right. Like she's that freaking
All
good.
right.
She's that good. So, yes, like if they can all play I still worry a little bit about their size. I just do, like
Mhm.
a lot of the more formidable teams have a really big post player. I'm looking at UCLA, Lauren Betts. She's the tallest of them. She's 6 foot
Yep.
seven, but yeah, so we'll see. This is going to be a really huge matchup for both of them. I anticipate a good game. Wasn't a great game last year, but I do
Yep.
anticipate it's going to be a much better game. And you're right, a pissed off South Carolina team that's now lost as many games this year as they had lost in the 3 years before. Two, which is still wild. Two, two.
With a couple of weeks left in the regular season, Elle, we got caller two.
Okay.
Hi, friends. I need a little bit of guidance. I'm playing really well, and everyone says I'll go number two overall in the upcoming WNBA draft. But I spent all of last year rehabbing from a knee injury, and I still have one more year left of eligibility. Should I stay in school or do I leave for the WNBA?
This is Olivia Miles from Notre Dame. You know what's funny? There's some people right now. There's whispers. There's some people right now that are like, could it be that Olivia Miles is playing her way into the number one overall pick?
Oh, okay. Those
There's
odds makers and
whispers.
those agents who are trying
Yeah.
to jockey for. I don't know. I
Well,
don't know.
some of that
They're
maybe.
they're always two steps ahead of me. So I know that all of that stuff is just the chess work ahead of next May's WNBA draft. But when you have a bona fide like Paige Bueckers, who's supposed to be the number one overall pick since she like left high school, that's going to be your number one overall pick, barring any sort of like ridiculous,
Okay.
barring her electing to go back. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, she's gonna go back because she's an incredible player, and also because she is a brand. It's like it
Yeah.
doesn't make, it would be like someone being like, I mean, I know she's a great shooter, that Caitlin Clark, but we do need some defense. It's like, what? Don't be silly. So yeah, I mean, listen, I think Olivia Miles has played amazing, and I'm so happy for her too because she comes out of the gate. She's freshman of the year. She's ACC freshman of the year. She's fantastic, and then she gets hurt in the tournament. She misses the entire next season and has still to this day never disclosed what the actual injury was, although we
Mm.
believe it was obviously something structural. She missed a year. And then Hannah Hidalgo comes on while she's out last year, and it's like, oh gosh, and it's like, how are they gonna play together? Like, what is this gonna look like? Is this gonna work? And it's been fan freaking tastic. It has worked out so well. Olivia is able to really like show like who and what she is. It frees her up to be able to do more perimeter shooting. She's dishing like it allows Hannah to not have to have the ball so much and turn it over and really like specialize at what she does well. I mean, they're a really, really good team. And I think Olivia should have no concerns that like the idea that it is even a whisper. The idea that it is even something that people are entertaining at water coolers or pods is wild because she's played so incredibly well. Whoever ends up getting her, if that's the Storm saying it too, like she's gonna have what like her with Neko Gumake.
Okay.
That
Yep.
I like that two-man game. Like I think that's
A little
um
young little vet. Yeah, she averages eight assists right now, 17 points for the number two ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So just keep doing your thing. But okay, El, you tell me, and you tell me because the big three, y'all talk about it. I understand that the WNBA salaries are what they are until they go back to the negotiating table in the next CBA. But is there a legitimate case to be made that she could make more money in college?
no, this
Okay, here's the thing, because I know that they're slotted. WNBA players are slotted salary wise. Obviously, there's no salary at the college level, but what I'm thinking is like NIL at Notre Dame, you have to be able to make so much money there, if not more, equivalent, right? Like the marketing dollars are what they are. You can sign marketing deals now as college athletes. So do you think that she can make more money in college and like just wait to be the number one overall draft pick if that's how it ended up playing out? If she didn't forecast a situation that she likes?
So it was interesting because like I was just talking with someone about sort of NIL and something similar to this. And first of all, a reminder that even though it is whoosh, rocket ship trajectory high, women's basketball players are not in the same NIL pool as like football. So people just
Mm-hmm.
automatically are like, she should stay and make millions at Notre Dame. Like that's not rampant. That is a that is an Angel Reese, who, by the way, wasn't getting millions from LSU. She was getting millions from all of the brand endorsements and all of the other stuff that she does, right? Like,
Hmm.
was she getting a check to go to LSU? I'm sure. There are still programs that do not pay their players a ton of money just to come there because
Yeah.
the pool is still not there yet. Like, they're not working with a $10 million NIL pool like college football is. So that's first of all. And second of all, I mean, listen, this is probably a question better suited for someone that had a lot of NIL deals and then went to the pros. They're sort of still finding their way into the league. So there's not like a ton of vets to ask, like, did you give up a bunch of money? But I'd like to believe that any of the same brands that were interested in you when you were in college will also be
Sure.
interested in working with you when you go to the next level and advance and have, like tons of eyeballs as well. So, like, listen, we've said this before. Is NIL, does it work for someone like a Carson Beck, who's a fifth round pick in the making? Of course it does. He's making $3 million to go to Miami, allegedly. Is he going to make that as a fifth round pick in the draft? No, he's not. So of course
Hmm.
NIL works better for him. I only say that and bring him up because it always feels like surrounding specifically women, we say, oh, stay in college, you'll make more money there. And I'm like, that's the same situation for a lot of these. It's why Drew Timmy played 15 years in college, like, because that's where you make that's why they keep coming back. That's why these dudes in the NFL are in the college football side are on their fifth and sixth teams because they're like, I'm going to keep trying to earn paychecks to go to teams and help them out and get these brand endorsements and show up to the Publix or whatever it looks like. So it's not just the only thing that's facing like women athletes. It also faces, male athletes as
Hmm.
well. They just have a larger pool to go from. So you hear these stories that a mid-tier quarterback's getting 600 grand to go, play at Fresno State. But like that's not the same situation for women's sports at this point.
All right, Olivia Dip, go get your money in the WNBA.
All right, we got one. He's like, I say all that to say, we got one more for you. You ready?
Okay, hit me.
Hey, Elle and Gary, I've made quite the name for myself this year, turning around my program, helping my team climb the rankings, and beating really tough opponents. I don't think many people expect us to go very far in March, but what advice do you have for me as I prepare my team to go all the way?
All right, Kim Caldwell, listen, take it from me. All right, a man who doesn't have any children. I barely know how they're made. Okay, I know you have to practice a lot. Stay down till you come up. All right, stay down till you come up with those lady Vols. Yes, did y'all just lose to LSU? It was a close game. But in the same week, did you also beat number 5 UConn? Yes. Are you playing good teams tough? Yes. Are you carrying the responsibility, the legacy, the pedigree of what it means to coach Tennessee Lady Volunteers basketball? Yes. But pressure is privilege. Stay down till you come up, make noise in March. I'm pulling for you. I think I got that one right. I don't
Yeah, you
know.
did. It was definitely Kim Caldwell.
So wait, so Tennessee is not supposed to be good? I mean, they got a handful, half dozen losses this year, but you tell me, like, are they really the down and out? Oh man, watch out for Tennessee, those plucky upstarts.
Yeah, I mean, well, so I think first of all, nobody really thought Tennessee was going to be any good because they brought in this new coach in Kim Caldwell that no one felt like they had ever heard of before, and she runs a very specific system, and people felt like, all right, that works at like a D2 school. That's not going to work,
Ah,
especially not in
okay.
the SEC, right? Like this. I mean, if you ever watch a Tennessee game, it's wild. She does like hockey rotations. It's like 90 seconds into the game, she brings everybody out and puts new fresh because she wants them. Her whole
Yeah.
thing is, I want them literally gunning from the first second they step onto the court as if it's the last 10 seconds of a game. So she demands that they go all out and then she brings them out. And like that's how it works for her. They do this like full court press. It's a stifling type of defense. Like it's really interesting to watch and they run. It's all about pace. She wants to average 20 more possessions per game than
Damn.
her opponents. Right. So like Tennessee's actually really fun to watch. It is. And I think that that's why it's surprising to people is that they
Okay.
wondered if it would work at this level. And they had been so close. Like they had a couple of tests. They'd been so close against Notre Dame, like all these teams that they kept losing to. And then they ended up, they were so close against LSU the first time. They lost by on a last second layup, like at the buzzer.
Hmm.
we needed to see if like they could take that next step as a team and tell us that they could make some waves in the tournament, but being a legitimate team, not being
Hmm.
close by actually doing it. They needed a signature win. And they got that by beating UConn. They did because, it was a huge test. And the thing for Tennessee that I think was really encouraging too is that like they turned people over, obviously, because of the press. That press did not really work on UConn in that way. It didn't. Like they weren't turning UConn over in the press. UConn definitely had a lot of things that they could have corrected. It's not like they got ran out of the gym by any stretch.
Hmm.
That was a huge game for them to sort of solidify and cement in people's minds. Carolyn Peck, I was working with her that night, and she was like, before the game, she's like, I need to see that this style that they play,
Yeah.
the style of offense, the style of defense, can actually mean that they can beat good teams and win big games. I need to see it. I need to see it so that I can feel comfortable, like in the conference tournament and then in the tournament saying, this Tennessee team is for real, right? And then we saw it. So I do think that there's now, again, it's unfortunate because then they follow that up, right? They get all this juju. They haven't beat
Hmm.
UConn since 2007. Candace Parker was there the last time, and they're sort of riding this wave and this momentum, and then they face LSU, and they end up losing. This one wasn't as close as the one before. This was also on Super Bowl Sunday. So yeah, I mean that's certainly frustrating, but that's going to happen on a team that has a brand new coach, is still learning a new system, and is facing, frankly, an LSU team that's good. Like they're a really
Yeah.
good team. In the SEC, it is still South Carolina and LSU, and until you sort of take them down, it is going to sort of remain a bit of an asterisk. Like, yes, they beat UConn, and like that's great. And like they've had a lot of really close wins. I think before their South Carolina loss, Gary, they had lost their previous like 4 games by like 6 points combined. Like they were in
Yeah.
every one of them. But yeah, so you definitely want to follow that up if you can with a big win over LSU. They weren't able to do that, but this is definitely a formidable team that, by the way, is fun to watch. Enthusiasm is running high. And that was what was missing at Tennessee for the last
Yeah.
few years, enthusiasm. And you saw that UConn game. It was there.
Selection Sunday, middle of March. So we'll see. I mean, they're getting in, but probably as an at-large is what I'm being told. Unfortunately, L, no more football on Sundays.
That's true. Let's get to it. The Super Bowl is officially in the books, which means that football programming is about to get a lot worse.
Nah, UFL, spring, let's get it. You know
No,
we
I'm
about
just saying, like, this is the part of the season where people think that we just manufacture content during the football season. Oh my God. After the season, I mean, it is wild. And I give, and I'm not even saying that to like denigrate any of our programming. I give it to our producers. It's very hard
oh,
to come up with things to talk about, knowing that the NFL is still king. Like you can literally say anything, but if it's NFL related, people will watch it. They love the NFL. So of course, we want to give the people what they want, but like, what are you supposed to talk about 3 days removed? Like this week, we're going to do a whole lot of, looking ahead. I think we're doing a lot of mock draft stuff right now. Like we've
yeah, definitely.
purely focused on the draft now, right? Or like we got the draft now. Once the draft is over, baby, May is like some
Wow.
lean times in the NFL.
We about to take some vacation days.
Whole lot of vacations happening, a whole lot of could Tom Brady have beat Terry Bradshaw? Like a lot of that is coming. Full warning. But let's just debrief very quickly what we
Okay.
experienced at the Super Bowl. And by we, I mean me, because you
Yeah,
didn't go.
definitely. Because I mean, I experienced it visually, but you were there 10 toes down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I was supposed to be at this Super Bowl because I was sort of the unofficial mascot. Because as you know, and as I've said numerous times, I am Petty LaBelle. I'm Petty
That is
Wap.
true.
I'm
Yeah.
petty and pink. I'm the number one petty person, and I'm
Hmm.
fine with that. And this Super Bowl was so petty. Everything about it was petty, and I loved it. And let's start with Kendrick Lamar because I'm tired of people saying, and by tired, I'm talking about you, producer Christina. I love you, but you typed it, and I'm sick of seeing it. People are saying this is the worst Super Bowl performance of all time. First of all, how dare you? That belongs to the weekend.
Hey, the weekend's performance
The
wasn't
weekend's
bad.
performance was horrific. I'm sorry. Full blown, no thanks.
It
It was
wasn't
not
bad.
good. It was not good. It was not. And it will go
L,
down as one of the worster ones. It wasn't good.
what I'm
Don't at
tired
me.
of, what I'm tired of hearing is like there's a middle ground to everything that happens, whether it's a Super Bowl halftime show or otherwise. The two people and the two camps that we're hearing the most of, and I understand why, best Super Bowl performance of all time. Well, worst Super Bowl halftime performance of all time. Neither is true. This was a Super Bowl performance of all time. Like that.
Yeah.
That's in my
Of all the
estimation.
Super Bowl performances, this is one of them.
It was, I mean, it definitely skewed to good in my estimation.
Yeah, I liked
But
it.
and I'll even call out like ESPN's Instagram was like the GOAT, best Super Bowl halftime show of all time. And it was our ESPN Instagram. I'm like, that's not true.
No,
Oh
that's
no,
Bruno Mars.
they yes, Bruno Mars 10 years ago, they were like Hall of Fame Super Bowl halftime show. And I was like, this is a Hall of very good Super Bowl halftime show. It was a very good halftime show. But people are just staking their claim in this, Ellen. I don't see why.
So I think that this was a Super Bowl performance for social media. I mean that to
Yes.
say he did this knowing that you'd have to go back, watch for the Easter eggs, watch for the symbolism, that it was one of those where you have to go back and see all of the little winks and nods that he was doing, right? The thing is that Kendrick Lamar is not a Super Bowl sort of sing along, everyone in the stadium singing along and doing like the Katy Perry dance. Like that's just not, or Usher, like where he, that's not the type of rapper Kendrick Lamar isn't. He's not Flow Rida. Like that's, and so right away when they announced him, I'm like, okay, I think it's gonna be a fire performance. I've seen Kendrick perform live. I like Kendrick Lamar. I like his music. Do I think his music is like sort of like the prototypical, stereotypical
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl lore?
No.
No, no, it's not. Like, but like that's okay. 136 million people. That's what 14 million more people tuned in just for the halftime show than did to watch just the game. So like there was certainly interest. He's one of the most famous. He has had a year and it was petty as shit between the Drake stuff and the lawsuit. It was a moment. Was it the most entertaining in terms of like, was I up in my seat like going
Yeah,
nuts? Like I was
where were you
very
watching it
entertained
from? Where were you at when
in
you
my
were
seat.
watching? And when you say sweet, do you mean when you say seat, do you mean sweet?
No, literally my back was like to the suites. Like the suites were
Okay.
like right behind me, but
Okay.
I was not
So
in the
you had a
suite. I
good
had great
seat.
seats though.
So I had all the POVs where everybody in the stadium was just like standing there watching, like because they didn't know what was going on. And you are very, very 100% on the freaking on the head that it was a social media halftime performance.
Yeah.
But it's the Super Bowl. You have to have an all-encompassing Super Bowl performance.
No,
You
you
have to.
don't.
Yes, you
Why do you
do.
have to?
Oh,
A
it's the Super
hundred
Bowl.
and 36 million people watched it, and they're still talking about it. And they're still, even if they're talking about it because they say it's not good, they're still talking about it. Like, I really enjoyed Usher's halftime last year. I really
Same.
did. I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining, but like nobody mentioned it ever again afterwards. Like, they didn't. It was just sort of one of those that was like, cool. Like, at least with Kendrick, like, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. He did it to spark like conversation. He did it to spark maybe some controversy, like from Uncle Sam to
Yeah.
Serena crip walking. Did it have a little bit to do with Drake? Maybe. And by the way, I don't
Maybe.
agree. I'm saying though, but like that was a whole thing that was totally missed. Like people just thought she's dancing on Drake's grave. I'm like, no, she got into a bunch of shit and was called a thug and all that and said she was glorifying gang culture because she crypt walk back in 2012 after what was it, Wimbledon or wherever it was, the US Open, can't remember. And she got a bunch of shit. And so it was really about that. Was the Drake piece part of it? That's fine. But also anyone that feels like she shouldn't be doing all that and whatever, that man name dropped her in a song. She gets to do whatever the she wants to. He used her name in a song after they dated, allegedly. If she wants to crip walk on the stage with his biggest enemy, so what? That's a big, I like it. That's petty as hell.
Yeah,
And good for her. Be petty. Who cares?
but that's the thing. Kendrick Lamar's his discography, his catalog, everybody that has an opinion on this was like, yeah, of course he didn't play the bangers. So there's a certain degree of this. It's
But
like,
what bangers? Like, what song were you missing? Because here's the other thing that I did, and I think we said this on the podcast. I went back and he performed at the Super Bowl 3 years ago, and I think
yeah,
like when they did the West Coast,
yeah,
the
yeah,
nod to West Coast, right?
yeah,
And he performed All Right, which is one of his bangers that he did not perform on
sure.
Sunday. So he wasn't going to do the same show that he just did at a
But
Super Bowl
but
3 years
what
ago. He didn't do you know what I mean? Like,
but what I'm saying is you have the biggest stage, all eyes on you. This is the biggest moment and the biggest audience you are ever going to have. And I think to a certain degree, or all of the TikToks and the Instagrams that have been fed my way are like, and you made it about another dude. And and part of me 100% agrees with that, dude. You took like the Grammys are because you had a diss track with another dude. Like you've taken this beef and you've made this other dude your entire identity. And I completely see that in the halftime show. Meanwhile, Drake is just like having people go nuts in Australia, having a good time. Obviously, he's not going to feed into it, but I think there's a little bit of that halftime show that I was like, oof, it reeks of desperation.
It doesn't. What? What are you talking about?
No, he made
You
the
think
entire
that
halftime show about another man.
not the entire one, like
The
not the
entire
whole, no,
halftime
not the
show.
entire halftime show. It's not
Hell,
about
he had
Drake.
an A minor chain on. What do you
That's
mean?
fine. That was definitely a nod to him. He
And the
definitely said that little line about getting sued if he sang your favorite song.
yes, and the
Listen, that's
PlayStation and Say
but
Drake. He made it the entire thing about another
but it's
dude
not desperate. Gary, why did Kendrick Lamar have the year that he had? Why was he the biggest talker on the planet in terms of rap music?
because he's beefing with
Why did he get the Super Bowl nod?
because he was beefing with the biggest name in rap,
Well, okay, well,
which is Drake.
Kendrick Lamar has a Pulitzer. So like let's not
No,
act like he doesn't have like he's not a huge name too. He
listen,
is.
no,
What
I
I'm saying
understand.
though,
He's a
Gary,
great
here's what I'm saying
rapper.
though, Gary. What I'm saying is the thing that got you to the Super Bowl, like imagine Chapel Roan this year getting the Super Bowl and then like not doing Hot to Go. Not Like Us was a huge song. Like, of course he's gonna do that. Drake tried to sue everybody to prevent him from performing at this Super Bowl. You don't think he was gonna like
And
mention Drake?
but I hear
He tried
every
to sue him to get him from stop to get him from not perform this. He tried to sue him for the like of course he's going to go jab at this man. Of
I
course he is.
hear
I believe that if Drake had let this thing die out a while ago and stopped trying to come back with diss tracks and the lawsuit probably just reinvigorated all of this because it's so whack and lame.
no, L, I hear everything you're saying, but also Kendrick Lamar saw Drake as a meal ticket in a way, in a in a maybe similar way. And I don't know if you're gonna necessarily like this analogy, but sometimes we bring it up on the show here. In the same way that people mention ESPN, and in the same way sometimes people mention you because they know if they attach themselves to your name, it's going to get clicks, it's going to get likes, it's going to get shared, it's going to get circulated. If Kendrick Lamar was beefing with literally anybody else, nobody would care. But
Well, it
Drake
would
is the
depend. If they were
biggest.
beefing, if he was beefing like Kanye or Jay-Z.
Okay, yeah, well,
But that's the thing though, Gary, is that like Kendrick Lamar is not clout chasing. Like he's not trying to like I really truly believe Kendrick Lamar just hates Drake. Like I think he hates this man. I think he hates him. And I think that he has the power of the pen and he has a stage. And so long as he wants to attack Drake, he's going to. And I don't think it has anything to do with the tension because Kendrick Lamar is not, at least on the surface, he's absolutely not the kind of dude that's ever craved it in that way. He doesn't. Like he's not, he disappeared when people were clamoring for an album because he wanted to just go and write and like be a person and be inspired. Like he like messes around with different styles of rap. He teams up with like I don't believe that Kendrick Lamar cares to like pick on Drake so that he can get more attention or clicks. I don't think any of that matters. I think he's never liked Drake. And then the second that he felt like Drake poked his bear or made some reference to him, he just decided he Michael Jordaned him. Michael Jordan would just look at a random dude on the court and be like, you pissed me off. I'm going to annihilate you today. I'm going to put you in the grave. And Michael Jordan didn't actually even care about those people.
sure.
I do believe Kendrick actually really doesn't like
Well,
Drake.
in that case,
This is not Lil Yachty trying to do this. This is
yeah.
Kendrick freaking Lamar.
Well, in that case, I think then it sort of maybe backs me up in that Drake put Kendrick Lamar on in 2012 when he gave him a feature. He put him on, L. This is for the next episode.
Oh
Okay,
my God. I can't. I have to move
no,
on. I'm gonna do to you what the fans did to Taylor Swift. I'm going to boo you.
go ahead. It's not going to phase me.
Can I just jump on a quick soapbox? Well, I guess I'll just traverse the soapbox I was just on and go to another one here.
Okay.
I was there. Okay. I am so tired of this narrative or discourse that somehow Taylor Swift was booed because of her politics or because people don't like her or want her in the NFL space. Like, you guys, come on. It's the Philadelphia Eagles.
Correct.
She is the world's most famous Chiefs fan.
Correct.
They put her in a horrible position by popping. Usually they reserve that for the television broadcast. They threw her up there in a neutral site game that wasn't so neutral, friends. It
Correct. A
was
lot of
70
green.
freaking 30 Eagle. It looked peppered, like it looked somewhat even, but audibly, it was 70-30
Yeah.
Eagles fans.
Yeah, you got
And
Philly fans in there.
they pop her up, and of course they're gonna boo her. They would have booed if it was Paul Rudd that they had showed. Like, that's how they're the Eagles fans. They booed
Correct.
Santa Claus. Like, this has nothing. So any of the politicians taking victory laps somehow, you guys, that was reserved singularly because she is a freaking Eagles fan. And honestly, I have friends that are Eagles fans. She's from Philadelphia. She was an Eagles fan before she started dating Travis Kelce. They kind of feel like she's a sports trader.
Yeah.
That's what it was about. And I understand there's a sensitivity because she has been made to feel very unwelcome in this space, and it's unfair and wrong and misogynistic. And we know all of the reasons why. I know how nasty people have been to her since who she endorsed for president. I get all of that. But in this one circumstance, this one instance, I've
Yeah.
got to believe it was purely because of who she was there to support. And they don't like the Chiefs. Like, that's why they booed her.
This was sports. All right. This was a sport specific booing. I saw that as soon as I saw the tweet. I'm like, yeah, she's with the Chiefs. And by all accounts, and backed up by your firsthand testimonial, she was outnumbered.
By a lot.
70-30. That's all that was. Everybody chill out.
By a lot,
Yeah.
And like, I thought her reaction was so funny. She's like, what'd I do? But
Correct.
like, come on, you guys, leave it there. It's the Eagles. It's the Eagles. Like,
Come on.
they're not rooting. And I can't imagine that they've been showing her in every arena, but in particular in the Super Bowl
Yeah.
against the Eagles. They would have they would have booed the Pope if he was in a Chiefs suite.
That's a
Like, come
fact.
on.
That's a fact. Elle, they didn't boo you though. That's all that matters.
Luckily, I got out of there in time. And lastly, Patrick Mahomes arriving in an Eagles suit.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that jinxed them? Do you think that was a troll? Had
No.
to have been.
I
Had to
just
have been.
I mean, listen, everything is planned out, everything is methodical. I feel a lot better if Patrick Mahomes walking in with a little bit of that Eagle green than Travis Kelce walking in with that 70s porn suit. Because he has to leave the stadium in that thing.
He does.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
He definitely picked that as a victory outfit. Like, he
it
thought
was
he'd be
a
at the post party
oh,
looking
just
all like a
chilling, big
swinger.
chilling. Yeah, New Orleans, I got my glitter on. I think that was the biggest fashion misstep of the two. Because Patrick Mahomes, he had that on. He was stepping in that suit. It looked good.
Yeah.
Um, Travis Kelce had the bigger misstep.
Yeah, but he absolutely was trolling though. He was definitely trolling them. Dude, I went to go pick out a shirt to pack to go to New Orleans, and my husband was like, that's like kind of Eagles green. I was like, oh, is
Oh, for
it?
real?
Yeah. So you think that Brittany Mahomes didn't look at him and go like, oh, that's it. You don't think no one said to him, like, that's an Eagles green suit. You literally look like Jalen Hurts. Like, are you sure? So he did he was trolling him. I'm okay with that because
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with trolling. If it all works out, you get to be
correct.
the ultimate petty troll. If it doesn't,
It didn't.
people get to throw it in your face. And they did. But wow, I mean, that was shocking. I think it finally hit me like legitimately at the start of the third quarter. I looked at Omar and I was like, oh, I don't think there'll be any Mahomes magic tonight. Like, I don't think he's going to undertake this thing. I think that this
Hell,
is a wrap.
I went to bed at halftime. I was like, I'm gonna catch. I did SportsCenter the next morning, but I didn't have to stay up. It was 24-0, and I was like, bro, they had 23 yards of offense in the first half.
Correct.
The Eagles had more points than the Chiefs had yards.
Yes.
This is a wrap. I went
Yeah.
to bed.
Yeah, I did too. We left at the start of the fourth quarter. I was like, let's beat everybody out because again, there were so many Eagles fans there. Nobody had left, right? They wanted to watch the post-game
Correct.
celebrations and all that. So we got out of there and lucky for us, we thought we're going to get a great night's sleep. And then at around 1:30 came the trombone parade, followed by about 45 minutes to an hour of Fly Eagles Fly chanting, followed just by just like errant screaming, some
Welcome to New
crashes.
Orleans.
It was great. Maybe I don't know, friends that own hotels on Bourbon Street, if you could just like triple pane those windows, that'd probably be great. Cause like if I'm on the 10th floor, I probably shouldn't hear it, but alas,
Hell,
great
Connecticut ain't
vibes.
that bad, is it? Connecticut ain't that bad, is it? Elle, welcome
Till
home.
you land and there's just snowbanks everywhere and you hate your life.
Yo, I just had a snowball like 2 feet of snow, Elle. It's crazy.
It's not
But
great.
whatever. Welcome home.
Thank you. Welcome home. We appreciate you guys listening. Rate, review, subscribe. Tell us what you think. Do you agree? Was this just a sports boo? Should everybody move on? Should anybody feel heartbroken? It's a sports boo. Let
And
us know.
again,
Let us know in the comment section.
and if you're with me and you're not turning your back on Drake because he gave us a
Oh
soundtrack for the last
God.
2 decades, you're not alone. Don't feel like your voice is muffled. You are not alone. I'm right there with you. I'm not turning
Yeah.
my back on Drake. I'm not doing
Show yourself so I can boo you.
it.
Boo.